January 26, 2009. It was the beginning of the worst ice storm in Arkansas's history. Over the next 3 days, the catastrophic storm would leave 350,000 Arkansans without power, many for 2 weeks or more. In its wake, about 40,000 poles and hundreds of miles of line were down. North Arkansas Electric Cooperative was among the hardest hit of Arkansas's electric cooperatives, with over 34,000 members out of power and 2,700 poles on the ground. The cooperative faced the daunting task of rebuilding 90% of its system as quickly and safely as possible. The cooperative would have to rebuild an electric system in days that took nearly 7 decades to build. On January 25th, there was news that an ice storm was brewing, but no one knew how bad it was going to be.
First of all, whenever we have a warning, we never know really how bad it's going to be.
I don't know, some of us thought it was going to be bad, some of us thought it wasn't going to be that bad.
Some of our worst storms in the Mountain Home District, we probably was about a 4-day on our worst storms.
Somewhere in the back of my mind, I kept saying, you know, this is not going to really happen.
We really took it seriously, prepared for it. We did.
My mom told me it was going to be bad ahead of time.
It happens everywhere else, but it won't happen here. It won't be that bad.
I knew it was coming.
Oh, I didn't comprehend this at all.
The core mission of North Arkansas Electric Cooperative is simple. Keep the lights on, come rain or shine. So the cooperative employees sprang into action.
We had it on pretty good authority that we were going to get a significant ice event. So we started preparations. Our support personnel started to line up food. They started to line up hotel rooms. And somewhere in the early morning of Monday morning, we began to send our people home to get rested up, to make preparations at their homes for the ice event that we thought was going to occur.
Tuesday morning it hit, and it started falling apart.
Tuesday it started, and we was able to kind of keep up a little bit. And then Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, we started early, and we just totally down. Didn't have a thing going Wednesday, and you're just thinking, what have we got into?
And then as it started hitting, you just started seeing, wow, you know, look at the damage. You know, we tried to start putting numbers together on, well, how many people is it going to take to try to get the system put back together, you know, and you kind of outweigh that, well, that cost associated with manpower and timing, and, you know, how much money is it worth to try to get it done in 3 weeks or a month compared to 2 months, you know. And obviously imagining someone being out of power for months, it's just never been in our realm of thought. You know, most of our outages have always been, you know, days, and we're so used to staying until we get the power on that it's just a whole different mindset.
1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch of ice is accumulating out across Region 8.
All across Region 8, a mighty winter blast leaves Region 8 without lights and heat this morning.
Thousands of people all across Region 8 are without power. Heavy ice weighing down trees and power lines has caused both to snap.
Many of us have been in this business for a long time, and I don't know anybody that's here where I am that has seen anything like this.
All of these tree branches are falling under the weight of this ice.
As the request went out for additional construction crews, another challenge came to light. Where were these construction crews going to eat? Where would they sleep in the middle of an ice storm restoration? To meet that end, North Arkansas Electric Cooperative used 14 different motels and over 20 different food stores. By the end of the restoration process, North Arkansas Electric Cooperative became the host of nearly 700 additional linemen and support staff.
Well, initially we came in and getting a schedule set up to answer the phones, which I'm very, very fortunate. I work with some very good individuals, and we handed out assignments almost immediately to individuals. One was to take care of the rooms, to get all the rooms coordinated for the guys coming in, which didn't sound like that was going to be that big a chore in the beginning.
The first 2 nights, we didn't have any, most of the motels didn't have any power. We were sending people, 6 guys at a time, into motel rooms because they didn't have any power, they didn't have any rooms. We was getting more rooms, but still didn't have any power to the motels, so they'd talked Norfolk Inn into opening up, which they was closed down for a couple months through the winter.
Also feeding all the contract crews, which we ended up at 4 locations. We have 2 district offices, which they each fed over 200.
We would fix breakfast for around 300 men every morning. We fixed basically the same thing every morning. The first 3 or 4 days, none of the restaurants in town had power, so we completely had to fix breakfast ourselves. We had to fix sack lunches to go out every day, and then we would have to have supper fixed that night for 300.
Actually, we did have one frozen food store that was out of power, and it was working really good. They were worried about losing a lot of food. That's some of the food that we cooked in the Orange Room was the frozen food. We got a frozen food truck. It worked excellent. I think we kept the shelves empty for Little Debbie cakes in both the local grocery stores.
Even though there were hundreds of linemen at work, the task seemed to be unending. Everywhere you looked, there were lines down. A lineman would work for days only to see a few members get their power restored. But to a North Arkansas Electric Cooperative employee, this disaster was more than just a bunch of wires and poles on the ground. The destroyed distribution system meant that the lives of their family and friends, as well as themselves, were being adversely affected. The difficult times, however, brought the already close-knit North Arkansas Electric Cooperative family even closer, and the bond was reinforced by the common goal of taking care of our members.
Well, the first couple days was very disheartening. Whenever you get up of a morning, you probably get 4 or 5 hours sleep, and you cannot see a light nowhere.
We're a family, and like all families, we fussed and feuded a little, as you can imagine, being together sometimes 18 hours a day, but on a normal day, some of us together 14 hours. We relied upon one another. We talked to one another and bounced our thoughts off one another, what's going to work, what's not working, who needs help where.
As soon as the power's out, everybody goes in that mode to answer phones, do whatever's needed, and you just stay with it till it's completed.
It's your job. I mean, it's your job, and it's also your responsibility. The personal relationships you have with your uncle, your neighbors, you know who lives down that tap, the little old lady at the end of the line, and that's just what keeps you going.
You just do it. Each day brought new challenges, and each minute almost sometimes, so you just listen to those around you, and if something was over your head or if you became somewhat desperate, like the people on the phone, you know, you just back away, you just pull off and just for a few minutes to regenerate yourself, and then you just do what you had to do.
That's just what we do. When there's a crisis here, we all come together, we do what we feel is necessary to get through it.
Yeah, just knowing, that, it's hard to sit there knowing that somebody is out of power, and you get up every day, hoping you'll get so many more people, with power.
There was times whenever it would be discouraging, disgusting, because you felt like, if I could stay another hour to get another 10 houses on. But safety-wise, it just wasn't feasible.
In this disaster, the cooperative members, many of whom were homebound without heat, displayed their strong character. They were understanding and kind, which made it easier for the cooperative employees to perform their daunting tasks.
Well, I cannot tell you how much we appreciate our members. Our members handled it very well. It's amazing when you start hearing the stories about who took care of who checked on who.
And what I was so surprised about is, getting around in the way the ground was, just the bottom falling through it, and the poles broke everywhere, in holes and everything else. If you needed a tractor or a dozer, you didn't even have to ask. If you pulled up to their house, they were like, "Hey man, what can I do to help y'all?" And I was just overwhelmed with the support we had from the community. It just blew me away.
Even when the news wasn't good, as long as they could reach someone on the phone, and oftentimes we couldn't answer them all. Every person that I got that was live was pleased to be able to talk to someone in person, even if the news wasn't good.
I had one little lady live between Hardy and Worth, 90 years old. She just kept saying thank you. Y'all have always been here for me, and always came right out, took care of my power, and I appreciate you. And at the time, her power wasn't restored.
Volunteers from our community were calling every day wanting to know what they could do to help. We had churches, different churches in the community bring in food. They would bring in different types of food. Some of them would just do like the desserts for the supper meal each night. There were some church groups that actually would do a lot of our cooking for us a couple of different times. And then they would come and serve.
In the Mountain Home area, there was 3 different churches that stepped up and fed not just our employees, but the contract employees, over 200, for I guess about 7 nights. That really gave our people a needed break.
That's what makes my job rewarding, is that when someone comes up to you and asks if they don't have very much during a time like that, do you need a cup of coffee? I'll go in and put some on the wood stove or do something if you need it.
As the days turned into weeks, pole after pole was installed and member after member got power. After 19 days, the work was nearing an end. Many North Arkansas Electric Cooperative employees worked those 19 days straight. When it was completed, more than 49,000 man-hours had been logged.
The ice storm of 2009 will probably go down in the books as the worst event, especially the worst ice storm event ever experienced in Arkansas and probably in the South. We have looked at it on paper after the event, and sure, there are some things that we would tweak and do a little bit different. But our strategic direction from the day before the ice storm is something that, as I look at that I would not change a bit. Our employee morale, our employee dedication, and what the employees did for the members is also something that is just unbelievable. From, again, the day before the ice storm when we started the planning, they did an outstanding job working in harsh elements, 16 to 20 hours a day, sometimes 24 hours a day, restoring power to the members, which they know and I know is why we're here, and that is to serve the members. But our members really deserve the thanks. They did without power, some of them up to 19 days. And if I was out of power for 19 days, I wouldn't be happy. And I'm sure a lot of them weren't, and we know that. But by and large, we got cards and letters of thank you from our membership, and we just appreciate them. They appreciate us, but we appreciate them and their patience and their understanding. And we understand that they did have to live through one of the worst weather events that we've ever had here in North Arkansas, and we certainly hope it doesn't happen again.
Nearly 70 years, ice storms and tornadoes and all types of disasters have destroyed power systems, leaving members without power for days and even weeks. But the one thing that cannot be destroyed is the spirit of the community. In the middle of a disaster, it has always been the understanding of the cooperative members and the commitment of the North Arkansas Cooperative employees that have pulled us through these tough times. It's people that truly make the difference. We stand proudly today, ready to face any future challenges. As your local energy partners, we truly are here for you.